Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to build a bare bones Pwnagotchi. What that means is I'm going to show you the materials you need and what you need to configure to get up and running as quick as possible. So let's take a look at our devices. On the far left here is a Raspberry Pi Zero 512 megabytes with headers pre-installed because I didn't want to solder anything and I'm not good at it. Next is a waveshare V4 e-ink 2.13 paper hat display. This is a USB to micro SD adapter just so I can burn an image to my micro SD card. I'm going to be using a 64 gig. You can use as low as 8 gig. This is just happens to be one I had lying around. And this is a USB to micro USB data cable. It must be a data cable. It cannot just be a power cable. And it's already plugged into my desktop. So what we're going to do first is let's assemble the two parts over here. This is going to be the Raspberry Pi. Our SD card, once we're finished, will slide into the slot here. You're going to take the wave share here, align the male pins to the female pin holes here. And they should just slide on top of each other. And then what I like to do is kind of just rock back and forth. And if you encounter resistance, go ahead and start over, as these pins can get bent. And there should not be a whole lot of resistance here. And then as you can see, it starts to sandwich together. And then if we look on the other side, we can see this connector is sitting on top of the USB data port connector. And then go ahead and ignore this. This was from earlier. When these e-ink displays light up, even without power, they leave these ghosting images, so this is normal. So get your micro SD card ready. I'm going to go ahead and get mine plugged in. So typically when you build these Pwnagotchis, you come here to the Pwnagotchi.ai website. However, one of the issues I ran into was no matter how many times I tried, I could not get an output to show up on my display. After some researching, I came across Dr. Schottky here, who has an image that worked for me. So I'm going to be using that specific image that works with my V4. And I will add all these links in the description box below. Everything should be easy to find for you. So we're going to go over here to releases. And the specific release we want is going to be the Pwnagotchi Raspberry Pi OS Lite V156-Beta 2. So you're going to click on that, download, and then once it's finished downloading, I already have this file, we're going to burn it to our micro SD card using Balena Etcher. Once you've downloaded the image, go ahead and navigate to the directory and unzip it. After it's unzipped, launch Balena Etcher, select Flash from File, navigate to the directory where the file is located, go ahead and highlight it, open. Make sure your target is the SD card you're aiming for. As you can see, this is my 64 gig. We're going to click Select and Flash. Now you'll get this blank pop-up here. Go ahead and just click X here, and then the flashing will start. And what I will do is go ahead and speed up through this process and the integrity check afterwards. So once the file is finished, we'll go ahead and navigate to the boot sector here. And we want to make sure we are in the boot directory. Now we're going to create the config.toml file. And again, this is going to be bare bones. This is just going to get you up and running. We'll explore more advanced stuff later on down the road if there is an interest. So with that, this is going to be our config file that we're going to use. We're going to change this part here, main name. I'm going to call mine CyberCat Labs. I'm going to leave the language as English. The Wi-Fi name is going to be added to the whitelist here. We're going to call this, mine's called MeshNet. And then we want to do the same here. And then there's a section down here that says UI display type equals waveshare underscore 3. Now, even though I'm using a version 4, we're going to leave this as 3. So you're going to click Save. Again, make sure you're in the boot area. We're going to call this config.toml. The save as type, make sure to change this to all files. If you leave it as text documents, it'll save it as the wrong type of file. So we'll go ahead and click Save. We're done with that, and we're done here. So now we're going to go ahead and insert our SD card. So you'll find the slot towards the ribbon side of the display. And it doesn't take much force to get this to go in. All right, this part's important. This is power only. This is data. We're going to be using the data port. So this micro USB cable is plugged into the computer I'm going to configure the rest of this from. So again, this needs to be a data transfer supported cable, and then the data port. And you can tell it's working as there'll be a little green light here going on and off. Now again, this is a ghost image right now. It will refresh. Give this 5 to 10 minutes. Do not touch it. Do not do anything. Just give it 5 to 10 minutes and it'll refresh. All right, so as we can see, our Pwnagotchi has sprung to life. As mentioned, it did take a little bit of time, and you can kind of make out it says generating keys do not turn off. Again, do not mess with this or you'll corrupt the SD card. So while it's doing that, I'm going to switch back over to my display. And then we're going to go into Device Manager. And I'm going to go to Ports, COM, and LPT. And we can see there's a new device here, a USB serial device, COM8. Now we need to establish a way to communicate with our Pwnagotchi. And what we're going to do is if we go over here to Internet, change adapter options, more than likely you'll be missing this adapter. So I'm going to show you how to add this. You'll need to download a set of drivers that I found from Tiger, who offered these RNDIS drivers that worked for me. To install them, again, go back to Device Manager, and we're going to do USB serial device. Mine's COM8. We'll click Driver, Update Driver. Going to browse because I know where they're at. It's going to be in Downloads. Include subfolders. Next. And we can now see USB Ethernet RNDIS gadget. That's what we're looking for. So we'll close that, and we'll close that. And now we have USB Ethernet RNDIS gadget. So if we go back over to our connections, we'll do Open Network and Internet Settings, change adapter options, and now we can see USB Ethernet gadget. Right-click on this, go to Properties. You want to go down to Internet Protocol version 4, TCP IPv4. Change the properties. We're going to use the following IP address. It's going to be 10.0.0.1. This will be 255.255.255.0. And you can go ahead and use whatever DNS server you want to use. I'm going to go with 1.1.1. And I'll go ahead and use 8.8.8 as well as an alternate. We'll click OK and close. So at this point, we should be able to ping our Pwnagotchi. So we'll do CMD ping 10.0.0.2. And we have a reply, which means we have a connection. So the next thing we're going to do, let's go ahead and close these windows, is we're going to SSH into the Pi. So I'm going to do SSH Pi at 10.0.0.2. You'll type yes. And the password is going to be the default. It's going to be Raspberry. And now we have Pi at CyberCat Labs, which is what I named the Pwnagotchi. Now, there's something important to notice here. While you're in the data connection mode, you'll see it says Manu at the bottom. This is for manual mode. So right now, it's just doing information between this and the PC. It's not doing anything else. We're going to go ahead and disconnect this. And now we're going to connect it into power. Again, give it a couple minutes so it can warm up and start doing a display. Now before we were in manual mode, now we're in auto mode. And we can see our little Pwnagotchi is looking for Wi-Fi's. And now it's starting to capture them. And it's already owned one network. Okay, as you can see, I left the Pwnagotchi running pretty much all night. We've kicked 262 stations, made 469 new friends, and got 27 handshakes. Now we need to get those files off of the device and onto our computer. And as you can see, I have it plugged into the data port. So let's go ahead and back to our main display. We'll do CMD. I'll make this a little larger. And I created a folder within my downloads folder that I want to send the files to. Now first, I want to show you an error you're likely to run into. So to get the files off the device, you do what's called a secure file transfer. You would do that by doing SCP TAC-R Pi, the address, and those files, those handshake files, currently live within the root handshakes folder. this will give us a permission error. So this permission denied error is caused because those files live within the root directory. So we're going to make a copy of those files to start with. So we'll do sshn. And if we ls, we can see there's no files within this directory. So I've had to do this a few times for this video, so I'm going to use a cut and copy at this point. So what I'm doing here is sudo copy the files recursively. It's going to be the root handshakes folder, and I want to place the handshakes folder within the home Pi area. So if we do ls, or if we hit enter, we do ls, we now have a handshakes folder. If we ls the handshakes folder, we should see the pcap files. There's our pcap files. Okay, we can go ahead and exit out of here. And with the connection closed, the next thing we can do is we need to get those folders, or we need to get those files to our local computer. So like before, we're going to do scp-r pi at the address, but this time we're going to grab that folder that we just copied. So it's going to be home/pi/handshakes/ the asterisk. And then this is the local directory that I want to send the files to. My computer's named Blackbox. Yours will probably be named different. And then here's our file explorer. And if everything works correctly, this should populate with our files. And there's our PCAP files now on our hard drive for further research. In the next section, I'll show you how to change the config.toml file so you don't have to keep going through this process. Okay, so the final part of this video will be modifying the config.toml file. Now, it's going to be located in a different section from when we originally placed it. So we're going to SSH back into the Pi. You're going to do sudo su. Now we're going to do nano /etc Pwnagotchi config.toml. And this should look familiar to you. So what we're going to do here is we're going to add a section down here. We're going to type bettercap period handshakes, and then we want to / space quotation, and then we're going to do /home /pi /handshakes. And I will put this up on screen as well, as everything I just did is going to be right here. So this is originally by default where the handshakes folder lives, but we're changing it to here in the config.toml file. And I spelled shakes wrong. So let's make sure I correct that. All right, and it's good there. Okay. So once we're done here, you're going to hit Control X, and then you want to hit yes to modify the buffer. Now hit enter, and the config.toml file is now edited, and you can verify that just by typing cat, and then we're going to go back to our directory, and you can type these quicker just by using the tab complete. So if you type con, just hit tab, and then there's the toml file. And as we can see, it has been added to the config file. And with that, that'll complete this video. If there's interest, I'll look into doing more advanced videos. This is just to get you up and running. Anyways, let me know what you think. If you appreciate or like this video, leave a like, subscribe, let me know how I can improve things. And until then, I will either see you in the next one or I will see you next year. Take care.